Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by Generals Joe's Reborn.com with me as your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's a Full Force Weekly.
Yes, it is. We are back. How you doing, buddy?
Doing okay. It's nice to be here 2 weeks in a row.
I know. What's this about? What's this about? Why are you becoming regular all of a sudden? No, I'm just kidding. Yes, we're back in the game. It's Saturday morning. Get your cereal out or whatever you eat at this point. You could be in the afternoon right now in the UK, or somewhere else in the world. It could be whatever time, whatever you're doing. I hope you're having fun. Everyone in the comments
at any time, though.
That's true. That's true. You might not be watching this live. You might be watching this 6 years later. Yeah. So, hi, future.
And somebody's like, "How did they know?" You know,
they just check the date. Oh my god, he's talking to me. Anyway, that'll be the next person that views it. That's why 6 years from now. Right. How is everyone doing? Lots of you in the chat already. My goodness. Yes, there is a long slide in the image for this particular episode. Well noticed. Although technically, no, it is long slide because it's from the Marvel reprints, isn't it? Anyway, hope you guys are all doing well in the chat. We've got lots of news. Well, we've got select news to talk about today, but it's all very interesting. There's lots of cool stuff to kind of get stuck into. We've got updates on the once forgotten thought Air Eagle that is now returned. We've got the once lost but now found movie audio, which we want to get really stuck into because we've got lots to talk about that. We've got mega news to talk about in Duke, Sad Duke, I will say. And we've also got a bit classified to throw in there too with some leaked images. So lots to get stuck into. And of course, Pat's favorite, we'll do listings as well, mate. Don't worry, we'll get into that. Oh, Tac, happy birthday. Enjoying the Full Force live stream on my birthday. Thanks, Chris and Pat.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. We didn't get you anything other than this episode. So there you go. We got you something then, I guess. Pat's like, it doesn't count, mate. No, it doesn't count. Anyway, right, let's get stuck into that first bit of news, which I believe is Air Eagle related. Yes, for a short period of time, the Air Eagle disappeared from our sites. Yeah, like our sites, as they received a C&D for IP infringement. Now, obviously, since that time, they have kind of returned with an explanation of why they were gone and what they have done in order to rectify that situation. And Pat, now we have, as well as that kind of like very shadowy, sexy image of what we were about to witness, they have now kind of given a video breaking down all the new parts and the relocation of certain design features and lots of images of the actual Air Eagle kind of completed. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think they've done enough here to differentiate the Skyhawk and the Air Eagle?
No, I'm thinking that they have not. There's no way that if this had been the thing that had been shown at first, I wouldn't have gone, oh, it's a Skyhawk.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like somebody said last week, you swap with positions, take those pieces out, and then it's still the same thing. I'm kind of wondering, you know, how different the engines may be now. I think that centerpiece, because you could see all the new parts because those are all the new colors.
Yeah.
And the engine, like the center of the engine has changed. And I have to think that, you know, that's probably the connector changed a little bit. And so that changed as well. But that's probably just because they wanted to make the connection a universal point.
Right.
So, yeah, this is not going to fly.
Do you... The Skyhawk, mate, you could say that about the Skyhawk in reality, couldn't you? That's not going to fly. What about, without obviously kind of taking aside the question I asked you before about, you know, do you think they've done enough here to kind of differentiate the two? Do you like what they've done in terms of the updates? Do you think it kind of adds to it? Do you think it kind of makes it cool? I mean, what are your thoughts on the design?
Not really. I mean, no, I maybe it's just the fact that I'm so familiar with the Skyhawk design,
right?
That this then looks weird to me.
So
where do those other missiles go? Because there's the missiles that are on the extended wings.
Yeah.
Where? Because those are gray. I assume that they were something that was an option previously as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I thought the difference on those particular missiles under the wings, I thought it was just those little connectors that made them like elongated. Maybe the whole thing is new, and the missiles are just were just cast in grey anyway. But I don't know actually on that one, because I can't remember what the original Air Eagle loadout was. I know obviously you've still got the long missiles; they're still there under the skids. But yeah, I don't know the detail on that particular one, Pat, because obviously I think where we're looking at that kind of neon color, or like that kind of very very light neon yellow color, that they're clearly all the new parts that kind of change this up enough, I guess, for in their minds. So you've got the gun, which is now sort of like a Gatling gun sort of situation rather than a like a double barrel scenario, but that still exists. You still have that in the loadout, so you can you could easily make your your Skyhawk as is by moving some things around here. And it's really funny because I hadn't really noticed, because the Skyhawk is so visually recognizable for some elements of it. You can move things around and it's still very much, you're not being fooled enough. And the funny thing is with this is the tail fins, usually, rather than being on the ends of the wings, are right at the back, and the engines are at the front or just in front of those tail fins. So they have switched that completely around, and you'd kind of think that would do more to really change it up. But I guess it's just that cockpit. The cockpit and the skids are just so obvious, aren't they? It's so smacks you in the face. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, I have to admit, I think it's okay. I'm not 100% sure about. I think because the wings are different color, it's throwing me a little bit. Like if it was one color, I think that would be like, oh, okay, I can get into this now, and they probably will give it a what do you call it? Like a proper paint deco, like a master.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And we'll probably see it at some point in that full color sort of situation. But yeah, I don't know. Just interesting design choices. Obviously, they had to do something, and they had to do it to a degree that wouldn't be too detrimental to the rest of the tooling. And so I get that. And yeah, and I think what they have done is probably about as much as they could do, given that sort of balance they have to kind of find. But what do you guys think about this in the chat? Are you kind of happy with this? Because obviously you're still going to be able to create a Skyhawk out of it. I mean, it's not being said, but that's pretty obvious. But what do you think of the new changes, the new additions? Let us know in the chat, and we'll get to it, as and when we can. Now, is that everything, Pat? Are we happy with that now? Should we move on?
I think that's about all there is to say and show about that. It's there's I think that if they wanted to I think that they could have shown the whole thing in gray.
Yeah,
but they probably wanted us to be able to see, oh, you can swap those pieces.
Right.
Pieces that'll pop off. Those are separate from the gray parts.
It's tell me you can still make an original Skyhawk without telling me you can still make an original Skyhawk, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's this configuration's the Slyhawk.
Brilliant. Ed says, I'm a loyal fans hobby customer. I'm still getting this, but it won't stop me from getting a Hasbro Skyhawk when/if. Cool. And I think that's the thing as well. I think the Skyhawk, the thing with the Skyhawk, we talked about this last week, I believe, but the thing with the Skyhawk is it is so iconically G.I. Joe, and it is the perfect size for a vehicle in the classified series for what they're doing like to do a vehicle, you know, of a certain size. There are only a few you can really do at that kind of Pulse exclusive Fanmazen retail even level. There's only so many things you can actually do in the G.I. Joe line, and this is like got to be high on that list for Hasbro to do at some point, you know, like in that Vamp kind of region, or maybe even like a Fang, or that, you know, those are the kind of vehicles you expect them to do in that mid-range, not a HasLab price point, right?
Yeah, and the way that it's designed too, the way the original is, it's such a thing that can have parts pop off of it and fit easily into a box that's a little more flat.
Yes.
Like the Skyhawk has to be on the short list, you know, even before Classified had vehicles.
Yeah,
I think we talked about the Skyhawk being a distinct possibility.
Yeah,
it's not much. It's not much bigger than the cockpit for the figure itself, and I don't think that this is going to make it so that Hasbro absolutely doesn't have a market anymore, or the market's already been fulfilled for a Skyhawk. I just don't think that that's a possibility. I do think that whatever Hasbro puts out will be far different than this. I mean, looking at the way that they handled the Vamp, there were a lot of enhancements on the Vamp.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just scaled up, which this mostly looks scaled up, but also has lights.
Right.
Personally, I don't think that I really want lights in a Hasbro one. So this one's, you know, if you buy this one, you may just be getting a couple of different options within your collection. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm not judging anybody if they end up buying it. I just think that, you know, it's odd. It's just a weird thing.
It was an odd choice, I think. But you're right. It does allow for better army building of Skyhawks.
I mean, even for the people making this, though, the Skyhawk's probably a good entry to test the waters and see if they want to make something bigger.
Right. No, that's a very good point, actually. And I think that's probably where a lot of these companies will end up having to go. They're going to have to go to places that are kind of a little bit off the table for Hasbro at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Without it kind of treading into HasLab territory, basically. Yeah. Anyway, Devilfish is a good shout, Jedi Ben. Yeah, I think the Devilfish is a good size as well for, you know, for Classified as a retail, or I say retail, but you know what I mean. Pulse exclusive, Fanmazen exclusive. It seems to be a lot of these bigger vehicles. Anyway, cool. That's it pretty much. Let's move on then to the next story, which completely, yeah, I know what it is. So in the week, Brian_Blocks has been at it again and has revealed yet another image. And this time it is Duke. Yes, Brian_Blocks on Instagram has posted another image of his mega figures. I don't know where he's getting them from. But we've had, of course, we've had the kind of pre-pro shots of these figures. We'd love Duke and his gear and Ace. We assumed it was Ace. And then, of course, in closer inspection, realized, yes, it is exactly Ace. And then shortly after that, he posted this image of Ace, kind of like a production sample, we believe, is probably the best we can kind of describe that. And then a couple of days ago, he posted this of Duke, or I should say Sad Duke. And we'll be talking a lot today about Sad Duke, Pat. But so this is kind of apt for me. But yeah, what are you thinking on the Duke kind of like production sample?
You know, this is just progressing to be, you know, exactly how I thought that it would be.
Right.
It looks good. You know, I'm kind of already sold on this.
Same.
I do still think that it's more of a test the waters kind of thing, but
yeah,
the fact that he just keeps on getting, you know, things through the stages, one after the other. I wonder if we will see a Sky Striker next from him.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Or if we will see maybe like a Cobra figure or something else.
They'll probably do an Air Eagle.
Right.
With the new design, with the longer wings and the engines at the back. And just kidding. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I think the Sky Striker is a great shout because, I mean, you know, you could easily see Sunbow-esque as well, Duke and an Ace in a Sky Striker as a set. Like, you can definitely 100% see that. So yeah, I think you're right on that one. Will we see it in kind of pre-production phase and all that stuff? Probably, if that's what they're doing.
Yeah, but I'm still thinking this is a what is it? MattelCreations.com kind of exclusive is still what I'm thinking that we're going to see, and then who knows where it will go from there.
I like that idea. What are you kind of expecting? Because obviously we've seen vehicles from Mega. We've seen, I think, Halo, Masters of the Universe. Obviously, we've seen Turtles with the, you know, the amazing Technodrome and the Party Wagon and stuff. And I really like those. I think they're really well done. So do you think with a Sky Striker, do you have like an idea of what you want to see? Do you want it to be like as smooth as possible rather than, you know, because obviously with like Lego and these kind of like vehicles we've seen in the past with like Creo, sometimes they can be a bit blocky to the point of changing the look of it, and it's really just the deco that's kind of, you know, the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, we have just recently had the Forever Clever stuff too, which
that might have left a weird taste in my mouth, actually. Yeah.
No, I'm still expecting to be able to see the tops of blocks on parts of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it, but they've done a lot of vehicles. The Mega Brands thing is a big line. You know,
yeah,
it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I've even seen it Ollie's recently, Hot Wheels, like Mega Brands Hot Wheels. So yeah, no, I think that it'll be a little bit larger. I think that they definitely know that they're going for a collector market. And so it's going to look like a Sky Striker relatively well, but if they don't also license it at the same time, the way that Hasbro did last time they did the Sky Striker, they may intentionally make it a little bit different. But we'll see. I don't expect it to be scaled to an actual jet or anything like that, just because the figures are smaller.
Yeah,
because that would put it near the original Sky Striker's size.
So true. Yeah, it would be massive, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that it'll probably be a thing that they will have collectors in mind, and that it won't be so few pieces that it looks junky or cheap, but it's not going to be so many or with so many flat parts that it doesn't look like it's a building block toy either.
Would you be up for Mega to do play sets like the HQ or the Pit or the Terradrome or the Flag even? Do you think that's possible?
I think the Flag is a ridiculous dream. That's just way too big.
Yeah.
That'd be a ridiculous number of pieces.
It was half the size of the original. It would still be like 3.5 feet long. So
yeah, that's still a little too big. I mean, I don't know really what I want from this line. I think that I hate to say that I want figures more than I want vehicles, but that usually is the case.
Right.
I don't really, it's not like I even need a huge Night Raven out of this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff that I think a Flight Pod would be cool, a Fang would be cool. A lot of the smaller vehicles, I don't know.
Buzzball, Coastal Defender, that kind of stuff.
We're getting again into the territory of, okay, we're making the same thing in another format again.
Right.
Which is just kind of how things go. And do I really need to collect every single toy again in another format? Not really.
Well, but no, yeah, but yeah is the answer.
Some things that are fun, explore that a little bit and have some fun with it. And yeah, if we don't get the core characters, it would feel weird if we didn't get those. But here's Ace, and he's not part of the core character group.
Right.
So yeah, I think that the way that they've handled Masters of the Universe, if they did that with this, I'd be happy. And they've gotten some really, honestly, pretty large things. The Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull are really big.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be cool if there was a G.I. Joe base that was like the size of Snake Mountain. But I think they would make it familiar
Yeah.
rather than making something completely new.
I could see them doing something that aesthetically had the kind of front of the Sunbow HQ, but inside it was like a topless situation, Kitty said, and very much looked like the toy, you know, like the original HQ kind of you know, vintage HQ. So like I could see something like that being done with Mega Bloks, or I could just see them doing the HQ as is, because it's, you know, it's still iconic as the toy. So I think that would be kind of cool too.
Well,
I don't know.
a building block thing, so they could make something that had all the pieces for you to assemble it, just like the original HQ toy, or to make it a little bit taller and a little more like the Sunbow.
Absolutely,
absolutely. You know, maybe a second level.
I've always wanted that, like, door, that kind of garage door thing to slide up, and I've always wanted that. For some reason, that gun just like it's so iconic with that weird like bit that sticks out the top of it. It's kind of like a sharp kind of thing at the end of the gun. I don't even know what it is. It's just a design flair, I guess.
And it appeared in the commercials, you know, for the comic book.
Yes.
Prior to it being in the Sunbow cartoon.
And it's in it, that the actual door opening is in my favorite intro to G.I. Joe, the Sunbow cartoon. Revenge of Cobra, I think it started off in there, and then obviously it was repurposed for the next series. And then, of course, we used it. We stole that particular intro for the Action Force VHS redubs as well. So, yeah, I think that'd be so cool. Are there any characters or any vehicles that you are excited to see if they do end up going further than Duke and Ace and the Sky Striker?
That I'm excited to see?
Or that you want, that you would be like, I need that in my life.
It's hard to have a Sky Striker without having a Rattler, honestly.
Yeah, Rattler would be dope, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but come on, the iconic vehicle that I probably want every time is the HISS tank.
I knew you were going to say it. I just wanted to hear the words come out of your mouth. Yes, the HISS tank, awesome. And yeah, do you think I haven't really got any other questions other than I kind of agree with you on that one. I think the HISS tank is probably too obvious for them not to do. What kind of vehicles do you see the G.I. Joe team other than the Sky Striker having?
Vamp.
Yep. Pretty obvious. Got to get through the core character vehicle hump, haven't we?
It is, yeah. There is kind of a core characters for the vehicles. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, I think the Ore Striker is a good shout as well. I think that's probably going to end up in there somewhere in the future. I hope so. I really hope this is successful. I want to see more characters. I want to see more of this stuff come out, and I want to see what they're doing with this particular set. Because as you mentioned, I think Mattel Creations is a very good shout. I think it's probably going to be something like that. And yeah.
How cool would it be to have a set that just had the Mobat with all the characters from the cover of the comic book?
Amazing. It would be amazing. I could see the packaging for it and everything. It would be so good. That cover, obviously, would be on there. I think that'd be great. Empire says Hydrofoil. That's a good shout. Little sets like Cobra Battle Bunker and Joe Bivouac would be easy to do. Yeah, they'd be cute as well. They'd be really cute. Come with a figure or two, you know, as well, like a little action battle set or something. A Checkpoint Alpha with like Law and Order or Mutton Junkyard or something would be kind of cute as well. Anyway, Robert H says, I feel like there may be at least one Cobra figure, like how the Halo sets like to have most of the time. We'll see. They might approach it different to some of the other things that they've done. You never really know. And the fact we haven't seen anything other than these two is an interesting thing as well. Like you'd think if you're going to see these, you're going to see all of them, or you're going to see more of it. So, or maybe whoever's, you know, Brian Blocks, for example, if they're revealing them in a certain way on purpose, there's also you know, that to be said too. But anyway, any more news, we'll keep an eye on Brian's Instagram page and see if anything else pops up as well. Right then, next up, we are talking. Oh, we're talking movie, I think, aren't we? Next, yes, we are.
I think so, yes.
So we are going to get into the movie now. Obviously, we'll go into this as normal, but we have got a little avoidance of copyright infringement video to play as well as in a second. But let's get the explosion out of the way first. Yes, so the wonderful folks at TF Nation, including the Mapes, good friends of the channel, Steve and Dave, they have unearthed some previously lost recordings from the G.I. Joe, not just the movie, but the Sunbow series and the movie as well. Now, at a rollout roll call last year, Steve, I think it was, did a presentation. They're the same person anyway. They're twins, Steve and Dave. So we call them the Singularity, the Mapes Singularity. So anyway, one, two, or either of them did a panel at rollout roll call. It's like Zaymont and Tomax, guys. Come on. And they revealed in that panel some audition audio for the Rawhides, which was amazing. So hopefully they're going to be posting that soon so everyone can check it out. Now, at TF Nation just gone on the weekend, they interviewed the wonderful Buzz Dixon, writer of the G.I. Joe movie and many other things. And again, friend of the channel who we've interviewed on this show. And we've spent a lot of time with. Love Buzz. He's great. He's awesome. And he's even told us some of these stories in the past as well at like Granite Con and other conventions that we've kind of seen him at. Buzz is a really awesome dude. And in this interview, he goes into basically the kind of detail of Duke's death scene, right? So originally Duke was going to be killed in the movie. If you're not aware of this information, I'm surprised if you are not aware of this, but if you aren't, Duke was supposed to be killed off in the movie. They animated it, they recorded the audio, all done, dusted, covered in mustard, and then Transformers just so happened to hit the theater prior or while they were doing the animation and the production for the G.I. Joe movie. And of course, Optimus Prime gets offed, as well as many other robots. And it caused a lot of kids to just be absolutely all over the place. Pat, do you remember, just want to pause there for a second. Do you remember that period of time where Optimus Prime died? And what was your reaction as a child?
Well, not surprised. Like, that's one of the things that's a little bit weird to me every time this topic comes up.
Yeah.
Is how people kind of tell the story of being completely shocked.
Right.
And I was not shocked at all. I think I saw the Transformers the movie the second week that it was out.
Nice.
And commercials leading up to the first week, you'd have a commercial for the toy, and they tagged the end of the commercial with "See Transformers the movie. Does Prime die?" And it's like, well, I guess he does, because you're telling me here in the commercial, and you're showing it in the commercial of him taking that really bad hit where his chest kind of explodes and he's backwards.
How funny if they released a figure of him in all black and grey back then before the movie came out and we're like, here's Death of Optimus Prime.
Right, exactly. But no, yeah. I wasn't surprised at all. And I remember when I went to see the movie, I do remember hearing sobbing during that scene a little bit. But I don't remember anyone feeling particularly surprised. And I was there with a relatively large audience. And some of the, it was in the summertime, but yet before I went back to school, I saw some of my classmates happen to be in the same showing as me. So yeah, I don't know. It was a wonderful time actually being able to go see it. And I feel like we were cheated for not having G.I. Joe as well.
When you came out of that, I know it's a long time to think about and you might not remember, but how excited were you for the new toys after seeing the new characters?
Oh, I wanted a hot rod so bad walking out of that movie. That was all I wanted for Christmas after leaving that, is I wanted hot rod.
Which ones did you end up getting from the film, just out of interest?
That year I did pretty well. I can remember I got Cup, Hot Rod, Galvatron, Rodimus Prime, and maybe a couple others that I'm not thinking.
Nice. I only got Cyclonus, but I love that figure. So
I got Ultra Magnus as well.
Springer and Cyclonus were the only two I got. So you did well. You did better than I did. Ultra Magnus, man. That was like holy grail as a kid. That was like, I was like, I haven't seen this anywhere, and it's massive and cool, and he carries all the cars. I want him so bad. Anyway, that's really fun. Anyway, I just wanted a side note there because I just had a feeling you might have strong or some feelings about the Transformers situation. Now, of course, that happens. Optimus Prime dies, kids go nuts, and Hasbro decide to change tack, and they say, right, we're not killing Duke anymore. So obviously, rather than reanimating or redoing whole things, they just recorded a few little additions. One was Scarlet, obviously saying he's slipped into a coma. There was a few removals of some of the audio as well, which we'll see in a moment. And of course, on top of that, they also added at the end of the movie, Doc saying, Duke's out of his coma, he's going to be okay. And everyone's just like, sweet. Now, with that information at hand, originally he was supposed to die and have a funeral scene. Now, the beauty part of this is that the Mapes have uncovered the lost audio for both the original scene of Duke's death and put it to the video, which you can see on our Facebook page. We reposted, I think Jim Sorensen posted it for TF Nation on his page. You can go and watch the entire video. Buzz's interview is great. It's only a short video as well. And he goes into much better detail than I do. And then, of course, you can see the video with the original audio as it was supposed to be. And this funeral after it as well. Now, we've known for a while about this funeral, Pat. Well, a lot of people have known about it because we've had the script with a lot of deleted scenes and a lot of the original scripted audio and all that kind of stuff. Now, I wasn't aware that most of that script had been recorded already. So they'd recorded a funeral scene. And I just didn't think that existed. I just thought it existed on a written script. But no, there was audio, and it's on this video as well we're about to play you. If you haven't seen it yet, you can watch it right now with Pat and I. And when we come back out of it, Pat, well, I'll probably have a few more questions for you. But we'll start off with Duke's death. And I have taken the video out and put the original storyboard in. And we start just as Duke's about to talk. So it's I've cut a little bit off at the beginning of that scene because obviously it doesn't change dramatically. So we're going to watch a little bit of that scene. And then, of course, we'll listen to the funeral audio as well. So here we go.
I guess I can't look out for you anymore, kid.
Don't say that, Duke. Doc will fix you up.
This isn't Doc's day for miracles. It's my own fault. Oh, too slow.
No, you did it to save me.
Promise me you'll try to get your act together. Be a credit to your country.
I'll make you proud. You'll see.
Yo,
Joe. Duke.
Prepare a funeral for a friend fallen in battle. Yo, Joe. You gave your life for all of us, Duke. We cannot repay your sacrifice, but we can remember it, and we will. Until there shall be no need of warriors, and we shall meet again. Goodbye.
Yo, Joe.
He zigged when he should have zagged.
Sharp, you're crying. I've just got something in my eye, all right? Way more powerful, I've got to admit, Pat. When I watched that video the first time, I was genuinely tearing up. I was like, wow, how much better do you think? I mean, I already think the film's amazing anyway. But how much better do you think it would have been? How much more powerful would it have been if they'd have killed Duke off and had that scene in there, and as well as the funeral?
Well, it's a lot more heavy hitting as far as a movie goes. And I like how you can see here, there's the note. The only sound we should hear is the flickering of the flames. Everything else is stone silence. So yeah, no music. So that's kind of how it would have been very somber.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, they've only changed the audio, but it even feels like it takes longer.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I think it's that because, like, Scarlet actually says, she kind of quivers Duke, his name again, and says, Yo, Joe. And usually in that space, she says he's slipped into a coma. And I suppose that fills that space a little bit more than what she actually says very quietly under her breath as well. It's almost like you could miss it if you're not listening to it carefully enough. But man, I've got to tell you, I watched that video for the first time and I was genuinely like, wow, like this would have been quite incredible. I'm kind of, on one side, I'm glad that he's still alive and that he kind of continued in the, you know, in some way, shape or form as a character in that sense. But at the same time, I think it would have been so much more powerful and it would have been so much more impactful that, oh my God, someone's died in G.I. Joe. Like, it's crazy. And, you know, it's as well being Duke as well. I mean, it would have just been quite impressive. Parr says, release the Dixon cut. That's hilarious. We should actually do a hashtag release the Dixon cut from now on.
Yeah.
That should be on every hashtag for every movie related thing we do. Anyway, yeah, this is the original storyboard that I believe was this Will Munio that did this. Will usually does most of the storyboards, doesn't he? But I'm not sure if he did it or if it was oh God, who's the other one that did the storyboard?
I can't remember.
Diana will probably know in the comments.
I thought the movie had like 4 storyboard artists on it anyway. Very
likely. So I'm not sure if this is Will or if it's someone else or many others. But either way, all I can say at the moment is these are on the Sunbow archive as well, which you can find a link in the description for all those kind of like storyboards, which are really cool. And go follow Will Munio as well on Facebook because he does a lot of his storyboards too.
Is it Boyd Kirkland maybe?
Oh, could be. Has it got a signature on there?
No, the Sunbow archive calls out. No, that's earlier pages. No, they only call out the pages that they knew.
I'll make a note to find that information out and then probably do like not a rebuttal, but I'll probably do a credit check on the next episode. Diana's driving, sadly. Sorry, Diana. No worries. Yeah. Travis says, I'm glad they didn't kill him off. Yeah, like I said, I feel like there's an element there. I'm kind of glad that he's still around, but also I just think it would have been so much more powerful as a film. In any case, Parr says, does the script say who said the last dickish line? Yeah, they should have zigged when he should have zagged. It sounds like it might be Tunnel Rat, but I'm not sure on that one, actually, because I've listened to it a few times and I've tried to kind of see who could that. It sounds a little bit to me like Tunnel Rat says that at the end. Anyway. Oh yeah, I'll ask. Yeah, Houston. I'll ask Houston on that one. Yeah, definitely. He will know for sure. Anyway, so obviously then we get the scene where he actually passes away, which is way more powerful. Falcon and Scarlet looking at each other in unbelievable shock, tears streaming down their eyes. You know, Scarlet then obviously, you know, she says his name again under her breath, and she actually doesn't say on there that she says Yo Joe, but she does say Yo Joe as well. I wonder if that was ad-libbed, Pat, or if it's on the script. I was reading the script recently, but I can't remember if it was on there or not. I'm gonna have to look at that because I think that'd be kind of cool if she ad-libbed that. That's kind of a nice touch, actually. But yeah, and then of course, you know, that's when Falcon takes over, kind of holds him really close. This is what I'm saying, man. I'm looking at this and I'm like, my heart is being torn apart watching this. It's like this storyboard is killing me. And then of course we get the famous line which was cut, and that is prepare a funeral for a friend fallen in battle from Hawk, which I've got to say again, proper powerful. And his voice, Hawk's voice, is perfect for this scene, isn't it? Yeah, it is. That's a good point. I love that kind of additional kind of element to his tone and everything. And kind of lends a lot of credence and legitimacy to the whole thing as well. Like he's the head of the team, like he's the leader. You know, he's the big boss, the head honcho, the big cheese. I can't think of any other names for him. He's the general. So, you know, like it kind of adds that kind of more legitimacy to the fact that, oh my God, he's actually passed away. And then of course we get him turned to the camera crying, saying, Yo Joe. And then of course we have the funeral. Now, mate, were you aware that audio was recorded for this, or was that news to you when it came up?
It was news to me, but I didn't doubt that it would have. just because the Mapes have released other Transformers stuff as well in the past. So, yeah, anytime I was looking at any of the script stuff, because I was looking at it for Articulated Points recently as well.
Yes, go check that video out. Link in the description.
Yeah, anything that I was reading, I just kind of wondered if it was out there or if it was in a landfill.
Yeah, that's the scary thing, isn't it? You kind of think, oh, I hope someone has this still. And I will add, the Mapes have more, by the way, and they're going to be revealing and releasing more in good time. So that's really exciting. Now, there are multiple deleted scenes, I would say, or I suppose it is scenes, deleted scenes from the original script. You can actually, again, you can go check it out on the Sunbow Archive, link in the description. You can either read the whole script. They've summarized all the deleted aspects as well, which is really handy. So you can kind of find the page. You can find the deleted scene summary, and then you can go and find the page rather than reading the entire script if you don't want to do that. But it's really, really cool. And the fact that they have more of these deleted scene audio pieces makes me very excited to see what they can add to, because I imagine the stuff that's been removed but still is on screen that we see on like an animated style, and then the stuff that has been recorded but doesn't have any animation for it probably just had a storyboard or something. Pat, would you agree on that one?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, some of the changes definitely happened at the storyboard stage. I remember whenever I was putting together because I ended up doing the edit on that last one, and where Philip was talking, because he read the script in some parts, and I was trying to match up the animation to it. You could even tell that it looked like some of the shots had been put in a different sequence. So they may have even just as storyboards changed things around a bit as far as where they wanted things to appear. Like they definitely showed, while he was talking, you could definitely tell that the script called for seeing some more of the Cobra Law citizens and the honor guard?
Honor guard, citizens. There's a lot of different. They say a lot of different things, don't they? In that really, like scientists and women and children and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's lots of different.
The noblemen. It's the noblemen that are cut a little bit more. So yeah, there's definitely some stuff that just seems like it's a little bit in a different order than what the script called for. At least the script at the stage that is available online, because there are multiple revisions to the script.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the last one was, but it definitely seems that since there's this audio, that the script that's online is the one that was read. And, you know, they probably went in and did additional voice recordings for Scarlett's new line.
Yeah, and Doc's at the end. That kind of they probably just got Doc to do it over the phone anyway, because it sounds like, you know, obviously it's him.
Could have, yeah, that's true.
It's like, hey, we need to make this. We don't have to put any like effects on it. We can just get him to do it on the phone. Anyway, Marcus Butler says that whole scene was extremely powerful. Wish it had stayed in. Parr says, and then Falcon turns to drugs. Dang you, Headman. Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah.
It's like, after all that, I'll make you proud, Duke. You'll see. Drugs. Even if they killed Duke, Mindbender could have him brought back to life as some kind of Cobra super soldier, says Cowabunga Dude. Probably, actually, that would have been a cool storyline. Dr. Mindbender getting hold of Duke, DNA sort of situation, and creating like a Bizarro Duke. That actually would have been a crazy good storyline. And Sunbow to the hilt as well, like all day long. X Factor said the scene would have been so much more powerful, and I wish they decided to stick with it. Detective Dirty says, lost season, be awesome. Wish I could find a copy of The Most Dangerous Man in the World by Buzz. I'd pay for it. Killing very popular figures always backfires, says Felix. Optimus, Captain America, etc. And then they always bring them back to life. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? They could have gotten away with killing him off, and then just, like I said, Dr. Mindbender, step in, bud. You're bringing him back to life, and then we'll find a way to bring him back to the Joes again. Anyway, RKW says, where was Snake Eyes? Quite like that. No, you can hear him in the funeral. He says that bit at the end about zigging when he should have zagged. Could you imagine if that's what the script says? Oh, actually, the script will say who said the zigzagged line. I just haven't looked at that yet. I'm going to look at that later. Anyway, yes. So that is that's the funeral. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about, Pat, is the details of what they give you for the actual scene itself. So they're in the communications hall, which is that like big open hall they've got at the HQ with a huge computer screen on it, which we've seen multiple times in the cartoon and a few times in that movie, in actual fact. So Hawk stands over flag-draped silver coffin, which is suspended in air on 4 jets of energy emerging from a Joe logo inlaid in the floor. So the jets are coming from the logo from the floor, and that's what's propelling this floating silver coffin. When for the longest time, I think in my head, I had like a Mandalorian thing going on here where the coffin was self-propelling. But having read,
picturing, the carbonite block that Han is in.
Exactly.
Floating. Yeah.
And that's probably where I get the visual of this more than anything. But it looks like it's saying 4 jets of energy are emerging from the Joe logo inlaid in the floor. So we've got Beachhead, Falcon, and other Joes watch solemnly. And then obviously we have Hawk's kind of speech. Beachhead draws pistol and aims it under floating coffin, directly opposite Hawk's pistol. Both fire lasers at same instant, so laser beams overlap, going from Beachhead's pistol to Hawk's and vice versa. Then 2 more Joes facing each other do the same. One of them is Scarlet, whose eyes run with tears. Then 2 more, etc., until floating coffin rides above a grid work of intersecting laser fire. Then they do the Yo-Jo thing, and then the 4 vertical jets supporting the floating coffin stop, and the coffin falls into the laser gridwork, vaporizing in a sunburst effect, leaving nothing but the flag waving over silent, empty space as Hawk and the others salute with laser pistols and then begin to holster them. What do you think about that whole thing? Bit crazy?
Yeah, it's a bit much and a little weird. Like anytime that they can just use their pistol to do, like as a tool that functions, you could shoot somebody, or you could just with your buddy point at each other and
you can
then join beams. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a bit weird and a bit. This scene would have been a bit too far for me, I think.
I had a theory about this, right? Because obviously they didn't do any animation for this particular part of the movie. I wonder if they'd storyboard. I'm not sure if a storyboard exists for this, but I wonder if they storyboarded it, and then as they go through it, and maybe they kind of like have other ideas as it develops, because it was stopped dead, and like we're not having him killed. Don't do this funeral scene.
Yeah.
I wonder if, given that time, given that space of development time, if they wouldn't have come up with something slightly different anyway. Like it would have been they would have done something slightly different. Like it would have, been buried, or it would have been something not as kind of crazy, and we might have got something slightly different. Because this, to me, this seems like a crazy but very Sunbow-ish sort of vibe, but definitely has more kind of Transformers DNA in it than it does G.I. Joe.
It's definitely very sci-fi and out there, and maybe didn't feel like the proper send-off for a real human character. So I don't know. I can definitely see why whenever they were going to animate things, why they would have cut this already.
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't think that this was. I think that this was probably cut for different reasons than the whole Optimus Prime thing. This is just cut before the animation happened, and the fact that the animation's exactly correct for the audio.
Yeah.
For the old audio, where
he
does die, just makes me think that this was never animated for a completely other reason.
That's a really good point. That is a really good point. Anyway, I also, I don't know how you feel about this. I was talking about this last night in the group chat and everything, and I said something along the lines of, I would love it if, for like one of the anniversaries of the DVD or whatever it may be, or the movie, for like special features, they animate the funeral scene to go alongside. Like you could watch it with, you could watch two versions of the movie basically. You could watch a version of the movie where we have some of this audio reutilized and repurposed and re-edited to make the movie where Duke passes away, because there'd have to be other things done, like Doc's thing at the end would have to be removed. There's a little end scene between Jinx and Falcon, which sounds like there could be audio for that as well. There's a little kind of back and forth between them when they're standing on above Cobra La watching the spores come back down to Earth. So I have a feeling, or not have a feeling, I have a really strong want to see that version of the movie, like the Buzz Dixon cut, you could call it. Would that be something you'd like to see them do? Obviously it would take a little bit of effort to do like a funeral scene, but I think that's all you'd need to really animate.
Well, there's a lot of small scenes though. Whatever the Mapeses have for audio would be fun to find a way to animate and get into a new version of G.I. Joe the movie. Now, new versions of things are always kind of a hot topic,
Right.
Do you do G.I. Joe special edition or don't you? And
It's the George Lucas effect.
Right. I think that we always need to have retained the original version and make it available. But there's a lot of other things in the movie that make me think that whenever Transformers didn't do well at the cinema, that things were rushed, things were cut. I find it a little bit weird that Transformers has this big soundtrack where they've, sourced existing songs and recorded new songs, and G.I. Joe just doesn't really have that, and it still reuses some of the Transformers music.
Yeah.
And so I kind of think that that's where one of the budgetary cuts are. There's also the first time that I got G.I. Joe on Blu-ray and popped it in and watched it. The scene where after Serpentor has been broken out and he arrives at Cobra La, there's some of the drawings in there that almost look like they were done a little more hastily than the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Because the animation's very good throughout. And a lot of the actual drawings are great. But in that scene in particular, it felt like things were kind of rushed. And Transformers, if you look at what's available for its behind the scenes stuff, there's stuff like where, Unicron didn't originally have a beard, so they completely reanimated that scene to give him a beard.
Right.
And a lot of just the original trailer for it just has animation that was completely earlier and unused. And
like the Diaclone colors Ultra Magnus.
Yeah. And Snarl being around a lot more.
Yeah.
There's just a lot more for Transformers that I wonder, where is that for G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Was it something that existed, or did they just kind of know what they wanted earlier with G.I. Joe, so they didn't have to do all that? I don't know. I think that if we were going to get this version of the movie, I think that it would be a lot more different than what it is with just these added in.
I think it would be really cool as a project, though, and especially something really interesting to breathe new life into the film, like later on. And like you say, it doesn't have to be, this is the new special edition and this is how you watch it. It could be a choice. It could be like you've got the main default episode, or because I've seen this on DVDs loads, and I know you have. You're in the industry, but you'd have you can watch it with the scenes added in if you want, like a different cut kind of thing. So I think that would be really, really cool. I think it would be so much fun.
I think that it would be amazing. Yeah. I mean, it would take a lot of effort.
Big time.
Yeah. To get things to look right too, because you would be animating things for sure. And to do it just on a computer and have things like the way that things are done to look retro now, we've seen plenty of retro looking G.I. Joe animation, and it's not quite the same as having, individual cells drawn at, I don't think they weren't actually drawing 24 images per second. They were drawing less than that, like animating on the threes or whatever they called it. But yeah, I think that some of this would be, I think that it would be nice to see somebody do it. It just would take a lot of, maybe it would be a fan effort. Maybe fans could do it, but it It would take a lot of fans and a very concerted effort to make it look right.
I just think it'd be really fun. Like, I think it'd be so much fun, and it would obviously reinvigorate any sort of like new release for the movie again. Like, you know, if even if it was just a very simple, here are the lost audio clips with storyboards or something like that, that would be kind of fun, just as a DVD extras or whatever. But I think it would be so awesome if they could like animate a funeral scene for Duke. I think it would be so cool to see this actually happen. And again, I want to see the grid system pistol thing. I want to see what this looks like. Anyway, that's that. And also one more shout out for TF Nation. It's an amazing Transformers convention in the UK in Birmingham, and it is one of my favorite shows. Well, used to be one of my favorite shows to go to when I was in the UK. I haven't been for a while now, and I really do need to go back. It's a great show. The Mapes and the rest of the team that do the whole running of that show are top notch. It's a wonderful show. And of course, massive thank you to the Mapes, who, like I said, will be posting more of this lost audio from the Sunbow series, from the movie, and all that kind of good stuff. So very excited to see and hear all of those. That brings us to the end of that particular news item then, Pat. So next up, we'll finish off with a little bit of classified bits and bobs. We are oddly keeping quite well to time here, so feel free to take your time now, Pat. Just kidding. Right, so lots of leaks have been happening since the last weekend, including prototype images, or first shots or test shots, however you want to call it. I don't know what stages they are. Usually it could be anything, but we have Dialtone's backpack, and we have a number of vest secondaries specifically for Leatherneck and Saw Viper showing up. Now we'll start with the vests that popped up on Weibo, courtesy this is of Shawlu, and who seems to be posting all of these at the moment. So keep an eye out for Shaw's next post, because I'm sure there's going to be even more leaks coming in the future. First off, Pat, we'll start with the Saw Viper secondary. Not much to really go into other than, what do you think?
I like it. I do notice that it doesn't look like the Cobra logo is sculpted on, but that it will be a tampo. And to be honest, I think that's the way I prefer it most of the time. Even if you can sculpt it in.
I'd sculpt it in on the unique elements, but maybe on the ones where you could probably reuse a vest, it makes sense not to, right?
Even in situations where it's something that is easier to reuse if you don't put it on there, it just feels like the Cobra logo in real life, if it's going to be a patch, it wouldn't be raised that much, once you scale it down to 1/12 scale. So I kind of think that it's a little bit better to just have it most of the time. Like, it is nice to occasionally get that raised Cobra logo, but I think that this is actually better what they're doing here.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's moderation in those kind of unique little things that pop up. And like I said, I think definitely works in certain very unique situations where it's like, well, you're not using that again on anything else other than a Cobra Trooper or whatever, because it's so synonymous with that particular figure or what have you. But in this case, it just makes things a little bit more flexible, I think. And it's not that necessary, I don't think. It's a small logo. So yeah, as a tampo, I'm fine with that, honestly.
And at that small, it'd be difficult to color it in and actually get it to line up correctly.
Right. Imagine the mask having to like spray that kind of thing in the factory or whatever. Yeah, that would be tough.
It's just going to look a lot more crisp as a tampo. It's going to be better all around. Yeah,
I agree with you on that one, mate. I suppose if it's raised, it's easier to get out, but you've got to get in there still. You've got to kind of like avoid the exterior part that surrounds it. So even if it's raised...
But if it's not raised, there's not like a spot where you have to hit. If it's off like slightly, it's going to still look right.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that one. So anyway, that's the Saw Viper secondary. Leatherneck has a secondary here, and if you look, I should have got a comparison of the vintage figure, but the grenades are a lot bigger on the vintage figure and kind of hang a little lower. So I like the fact that we've introduced a couple of kind of pouches there that kind of fill that space a little bit. I think it looks really good. Obviously, there's going to a separate section to be glued in, which will be the sheath for the knife. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Leatherneck secondary? Do you think that works for him?
For sure. I mean, you're picturing it here right next to Leatherneck in color, you know, the rendering, and it completely works. Yeah, I think that this looks good. I
love the little padding as well. Like that sets another different deco hit there on the top of the vest. Again, very much like that vintage figure. Yeah, I'm really into this one. I can't wait to get Leatherneck in hand, and the secondary looks really, really slick. But let's face it, there is one winner in the leaked bits and bobs scenario, and that is Dial Tone's backpack, which I've been fawning over since it kind of popped up in these images. Here we have a shot from the side with obviously those two kind of like one is missing, but obviously another kind of large globy kind of ball thing that sticks out the side, like a scoop of ice cream in the top of an ice cream cone. First of all, how do you feel about the kind of overall design of this thing? And did you want to mention anything about this particular image?
Well, yeah, I love the fact that they've gone this direction, because the Dial Tone's backpack is so iconic, and a lot of people will look at it and criticize it and say, you know what, he could just use a cell phone now. And no, he can't. Not if he's in an area where there aren't cell phone towers, and you probably want to have your direct line to G.I. Joe headquarters. And beyond having a direct line to G.I. Joe headquarters, you want to bring with you your Atari 2600. So there it pops out right in the back. You could play some Pac-Man, you can play some E.T., and then a bit of asteroids.
And the screen's on there as well, which is perfect. So yeah, just away you go. Play your games. That's brilliant, mate.
Night Driver.
What was really funny is when we were talking about this originally, and you mentioned the Atari 2600, I then co-opted it and stole it for the news burst, of course, as I always do, and claimed it as my own. But the image I sent you guys that came to mind
was perfect.
Was a Rise Serpentor Arise when Mainframe and Dial Tone are playing that game on the computer screen. Now, I love the fact in that scenario, they are in the most up-to-date future kind of like setup where they can get perfect image quality around the world, and they can kind of like, you know, almost like holographically speak to people in the same room, and they're playing one of the most basic games, I think one of the first games ever made, and I loved that. I thought it was amazing. Yeah,
I would definitely have with me some Yar's Revenge. That would be one of the games for sure.
What would you guys play, guys, on the Atari 2600 if you're with Dial Tone on mission? Let us know in the comments, please. Amazing stuff. Yeah, this was the winner for me in terms of items that kind of popped up in the week. But this just makes me really excited for Dial Tone. I got to admit, like the Gallagher, says Marcus, Combat, says Necro. Good shouts. Asteroids. Jedi Ben.
Who knows if he's going to remember, though, to bring both the paddle controller and the joystick, or the driving controllers, which aren't really the paddle controllers.
Mate, you know it's all in that back. You know that backpack's for one thing, and that's carrying Atari 2600 and all known accessories and games. There's no other reason for that backpack. He'll be claiming, oh yeah, this is a sat phone and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, he's got his tablet or his phone, and he uses that for all the communications. And that's just the leisure and entertainment complex that he brings with him. That's all I'm...
Yeah, the tablet is just so he could play some Star Raiders.
Exactly. Joust, says Bad Wolf Media. Felix says Tetris. Can we get Tetris? Demon Attack was my favorite, says Ed.
You know what? There was a G.I. Joe game, yes, before. There is a G.I. Joe game for the 2600. So
there is, yeah.
Playing that.
And an Action Force one. And an Action Force one, Pat.
Yeah, Cobra Strike.
Yeah. And it is hideous. And I love it so much. It's not your favorite computer game that G.I. Joe have ever created, though, is it?
No, that'd be G.I. Joe for the NES.
I thought you were going to say
absolutely perfect.
I thought you were going to say version 3 Snake Eyes as a joke.
Version 3 Snake Eyes is in it.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, there was pass, as Pat has mentioned. Raiders of the Lost Ark and Superman, says Zartan. You have died of dysentery, says Carl, genius. What else we got? Defender. Yeah, there's, I mean, plenty of games you can play. Do you remember is it the Vectres that Stanley's said there, or Vertres? Or has he spelt that wrong?
I think it's the Vectrix. I think.
Vectrix. Okay, that
yeah,
makes more sense.
I've seen it. I don't really remember it.
Yeah, Vectrix. Thank you, Stanley.
But I have seen it since, and those are incredibly expensive now, I think. I think it has like a dedicated controller that pulls out from the bottom. I've seen those before, but I've never played one.
Bad Wolf Media's on your team, mate. Anything with version 3 Snake Eyes is an automatic up check. It's a dope figure and a very cool design. I would say the arcade game's better, though, for obvious reasons. Right, moving on. Look at this. Look at the face. He gets so angry when I say that. Okay, Dial Tone, like I said, very excited for this particular figure. I love what they've done. We obviously don't have the render at hand right now, but like they've got some little cute updates for him, like the little neck kind of communicator and the little earpiece, all that kind of good stuff. I'm so glad they kept the retro accessory backpack. And it's funny, I was looking at this on the render and I was kind of going, oh, it's completely different design-wise to the original. But then I go and look at the original and they've kept everything pretty much on there in terms of the design. They've just either made it smaller or make more sense. So on the original backpack, that you can hardly see it because of the lighting on, and it's quite dark on the render. But the kind of semicircular lines on the bottom, that is actually on the original, but it's much bigger, more prominent, and does look like some sort of fan. But they have really kept a lot of those design details going up that backpack on the sides and everything. They've just changed the shape or size or position a little bit. But it's really, I think, I'm so happy they've kind of kept so much of this and still given us a flip top or a flap top or an Atari 2600.
Right. Yeah, I think that was an excellent choice. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, can't wait for that one. And of course, we're on to listings now. Pat's favorite. Well, we've completed 2024 almost, so we don't need to get into that anymore. And then going into 2025, we do know obviously that Dial Tone is in that first retail wave of 4. So I imagine that Xandar, Saw Viper, Leatherneck, and Dial Tone, because this is a sort of in-hand 2025, that we'll probably see Xandar, Saw Viper, Leatherneck, and Dial Tone for pre-order in 2024 at the end of, kind of like PulseCon possibly around that time, because they do like to do a big batch of pre-orders for PulseCon. So I imagine that first wave of 4 will be revealed that part of the year, basically.
I'm still feeling like those are part of the 2025 collection, and people will have them in hand in November or December of 2024.
Not surprising. I mean, it's coming thick and fast, isn't it, mate?
It just seems like every year. I mean, there's always something that's pushed a little bit early to get that excitement for next year.
Yeah.
And just because of the fact that they try to get them out. I don't know. I think that there's always we're not making any promises also that they don't want to promise for December.
Right.
Because that's such a hectic time.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Let's just call it 2025. Let's try to get it out before then. I do think that we're already seeing test shots of this stuff.
Right.
And it's only August.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna be seeing this soon, is effectively what I'm saying, what Pat agrees with there on that one. And of course, the fact that we're seeing heavy duty bits and bobs, I could see heavy duty also thrown into that kind of like pre-order stack around PulseCon. And then that will kind of leave us at the beginning of 2025 with Frag Viper, Blowtorch, someone else, and Footloose, and a couple of others in there too. I mean, the Cobra Claw is in 2025, but I'm sure it will be revealed sooner, I'd imagine. Again, probably in 2024. I mean, it has been revealed, but you know what I mean? Pre-order reveal with product in hand and everything like that. Okay, cool. I got Slaughter coming in the mail today, says Pass. Yes, I know, mine's on the way too. The Marauders one. I'm very excited for that because I want to play with that bag. Anyway, that is the listings map. That's all we're talking about. Don't you worry. No more code words for you, my good man. Now, I've just finished the Let's Talk Classified Footloose video. That's out now. You can go check that out. Next up is Heavy Duty. I'm doing Heavy Duty next. Then we'll probably do Mindbender. I'm not sure how much of a point there is to that, but we'll do Mindbender anyway. And then, of course, we'll swing back to Law and Order. Then we'll go do the Vipers, and then we'll come back to Rock and Roll. I've already done Blowtorch and the Frag Viper. So that is my plan. Will I get to all that before October? I don't know. I'm very slow at these things, but, you know, that's how life is. I will say, though, on Monday, I should be talking with Lenny and Tony for an interview. So I will post later today hey, going to be talking to the Hasbro guys soon. What do you want to ask? I'll put out a little social post for that for you guys to throw in your ideas for questions. And I will do as many as I can or try and combine some that are very similar. You're the usual maneuver, okay? Also, keep it respectful, please, and thank you. Right then, that's pretty much that for name-only reveals that we're aware of. Of course, these are the digital renders that we are kind of privy to at the moment. We've got Dial Tone, Leatherneck, Saw Viper, Xandar, and of course the Claw with the female trooper. That's a pretty solid. There's some good figures in there. I'm really excited for a lot of those. And I'm actually really into that Xandar design. I think he looks great. And according to the team, or I think Lenny said it, he does have deco under that secondary. So his tattoo, I believe, on his front should be there. So I'm kind of excited to kind of see what they've done with that. Any that stand out to you here, Pat?
Honestly, now that I see those changes, like what they've done with Dial Tone, that he kind of does stand out to me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, definitely.
I always would like to have removable hats and stuff like that, so the beret coming off would have been nice, but it doesn't seem to do that, which it's fine.
I wonder if it does, because they do often keep the beret on the render when they do that shot. So I've got a feel. I'll ask Lenny and the team if that is the case. They might not be able to talk about it yet. Well, they might be able to because there's a render out. So I'll ask them if it's removable. I might be removable, Pat. I think he may even mention that over SDCC. But I'll let you know.
I can get why Leathernecks wouldn't be, because then it'd be very hard to keep on the figure a lot of times.
Yeah.
How high it is on his head. Yeah, and I think still Zorana is probably one of my favorite figures from the Classified series so far, especially what they did with her accessory by making it a little more dual purpose without really changing the shape of it much at all. Yeah, that feels like it's for posterity. That's a good way of going with her.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm curious to see how Xandar looks next to her.
Yeah, big time. I just actually opened Torch last night, and I was blown away actually by how good Torch is. There are so many cute details on that design. Loads of like new textures as well. Like the boots have got this really nice texture on them. There's loads of little kind of cute tampos and stuff. He's even got little flame patches on the back pockets of his jeans, which is pretty dope. Just like real like cool things like that. So yeah, I'm really impressed with so far with the Dreadnoks, bar Buzzer's shades, which really annoy me. But
that's why I still haven't opened my Buzzer. I have Ripper, I have Buzzer, but I haven't opened Buzzer.
Ripper's phenomenal. Ripper is one of my favorite figures in the line, I think. Like, so good. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm excited for Xandar, to keep kind of that Dreadnought team growing as well. Anyway, yeah, awesome source. That brings us to the end of the news. Let's get into shout out, shall we? At a very early hour and a quarter in. Not bad at all. Have you tried Hoarder yet? No? Well, you need to. If you have a collection of things and want to create a fun and easy way of organising it and of course showing it off, then get involved. You can post items and build collections, and you can drop a status like getting a fun delivery or seeing some awesome related stuff on your travels. Build your collections with Hoarder. The app is free to download on Google Play and the App Store, so what are you waiting for? Get to hoarding. Yes, Bird, do you want to take us away as usual?
Sure. Shout out as always to Philip.
It's like how I timed that with how we're about as you're about to say the name. I'm
going to mess you up next week, and I will just wait. I'll be like, shout out to, and hang on, and then you won't know when I'm going to say it.
To see how quick my reactions are when you'll say like Peter, and I'll be like, bang! Oh no, who's Peter? I didn't get that image in there for that guy. Anyway, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, shout out to Philip. Articulated Points. If you haven't seen it before, Philip and I have a channel where we talk about G.I. Joe and more. We do consider ourselves a G.I. Joe channel, but we also have other interests that we put up occasionally. We try to get up one episode a month, and the month is still not over, so we need to get something up this month. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, we talk about we try to talk about obscure stuff.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Link in the description. Go sub, go check it out, go watch all the videos, and especially go and watch after today's episode, go and watch the movie related one as well, because again, Pat went to extreme lengths to research that one as well, didn't you, mate?
Well, that was mostly Philip. Philip actually had obtained we kind of didn't include a lot of the stuff that's already out there online, because it was like a slice of time in the movie, because he had received one packet of things, and they were all a single communication that had been together at one point.
Brilliant.
So I kind of thought that was important to represent, and as did he. So he looked into things, and I ended up editing that one, but that was definitely Philip putting forth the work.
Nice one. Teamwork. That's how
it was. Teamwork, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how you get stuff done. Shout out to my wonderful wife, Kate, and Phoebes, and the rest of the family in the UK and the US, of course. Always love you guys, and can't wait to see you again. And then, of course, we've got Brian Sauer, who does our amazing graphics and runs Codename Iowa's Assembly Required. The 13th annual Joe Convention is happening on November 8th and 9th of this year. More information at codenameiowa.com, or follow them on their socials. And of course, a bit of news that just popped up this week regarding Assembly Required is that Larry HAMA is going to be there. So that is awesome. Get down there, tell him how amazing Larry is to his face, and go and, yeah, you'll have a great time. So in relation as well to Larry, of course, he's having a bit of a nice renaissance for Larry, with the A Real American Hero doing so well at Skybound, and G.I. Joe just having a really nice big kind of, I don't know, resurgence almost. In relation to that, Larry's also involved in Mounties versus Werewolves, which he's written. Now this is live now on Kickstarter, link in the description. And yeah, you can obviously go and support Larry's next kind of venture there as well. It's Larry's involved, so it's going to be amazing. I'm going to get in on this as well. I definitely want to see what this is about. Pat, are you interested in this?
Yes, and I'm interested in Larry finding some additional, additional success. What a hardworking guy.
Definitely.
He didn't really. I wasn't expecting him to continue doing more, adding more to his plate, and having I don't know where he found the time for this, but it's awesome that he's putting additional work out there.
Absolutely. And like I said, if you're a fan of his G.I. Joe work, his Wolverine work, Bucky O'Hare, there's so many things that great things. It's not just G.I. Joe as well. Obviously, there's loads of things that Larry's been involved in. And also, if you ever meet Larry, he does love talking about things other than G.I. Joe as well. So if you have any little prior knowledge of other things that he's done, he does enjoy talking about other stuff.
I really wish that somebody would give him the chance to do Uncle Scrooge. As often as he's mentioned that, it just feels like the world has been robbed of Larry Scrooge.
Absolutely. Yeah, tell him to his face as well at the conventions how much you respect, and I'm sure you would anyway if you saw him. But anyway, amazing stuff. And like I said, link in the description to the Kickstarter right now for Mounties versus Werewolves. Now, as well as that, we spoke to the awesome Brian Hickey yesterday, in actual fact. Did a live show with Brian. The early bird offer for the Battle Action Force Treasury editions is coming to a close, but it's an extra day has been added. So it ends now on the 18th of August, not the 17th of August. So you have a little bit more time. Like you don't have 48 hours. That was yesterday. You have 24 hours now. I should have crossed that out. But you can still get in on the early bird bundle deal, and it is very much worth it. Trust me. So get in on that. And then we will be speaking to Brian again probably very soon about the project or any updates and that kind of stuff. So yeah, shout out to Brian and shout out to Battle Action Force. Very excited for these. So I can't even tell you. And I hope, again, they've done really well so far with pre-orders. So it is all happening. It's all going forward. What I would say is if it's even better than it is right now, you can almost be certain of future publications to come as well. So if you want your Palatoy G.I. Joe kind of element, like World Enemy number 1 and onwards, then getting in on this would be the best way to do that and to ensure that we see those in the future. Anyway, yeah, that's that. And that's it. That's the end of the show. Thank you very much, Pat, for joining me on this very short episode. You've got time to spare now.
I do. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll actually talk for once.
Every episode we've been on recently, it's been like, right, bye guys, full force, and then it just we're off with both. Pat's
I think that my laptop is closed and I'm out the door heading to work.
Running
before the stream is actually technically finished.
Yeah, I'm gonna be late. It's all Chris's fault, and it is a lot of the time. It is my fault most of the time. Do the Battle Action Force include the alternate issue 21 prequel story? No, Matt. It's just the. What am I saying? It's not. That was Marvel that happened in. So this is the Battle Action Force series up to World Enemy number 1, and then everything after that is where we get the other stuff with the alternate issue 21 and all that kind of stuff. So that would be after the fact. Just to answer that question. Anyway, there we go. We are done, mate. Thank you to all of our wonderful viewers, listeners, whatever you do, however you consume us, gross. And of course to our patrons as well. I'll have another Patreon episode or Q&A tomorrow as well, so look out for that. I will see you guys on the next one, which will probably be, what will the next one be? Probably the interview, unless any news kicks off in the next couple of days, which could obviously happen. And Pat, we'll see you next week, hopefully.
All right, sounds good. I always enjoy it.
Awesome. Stay fresh, cheese bags. And as always, after 3, 1, 2, 3,
full force.
I just realized I'm going to need to overdub Duke's death scene so that they say full force instead of Yocho. Amazing. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well @The Full Force Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.